You're listening to RIA Radio, the nationally trusted name in real estate investing. We dig deep to discover investors' why in real estate. If you want to skip all the BS and get in investors' heads, you're in the right spot. Be one of the thousands to check out RIARadio.com. Welcome to RIA Radio with Owen Dashner and Ted Kosh. Episode 207.
That's a lot, man. That's pretty, I gotta say.
Yes.
Fist bump.
Yes. Some dedication we really put in here.
Yep. And we had a great guest, times two, this last week.
Terry Shanahan.
And so Terry's going to be airing on the upcoming episode on Wednesday, and he did not disappoint.
I'm always a little nervous bringing somebody back the second time. I'm like, what can we cover? Because we're really not going to focus on what we already discussed.
And then the 4-page syllabus shows up in our inbox with Terry's notes ahead of time that he was more well prepared than I don't think we've never been that well prepared as hosts.
Well, we've had our moments.
We have, and generally what happens is we just don't use any of the notes that we had. But it's a killer episode. Great follow-up to the number, what was he? Number
46, I think.
Number 46, and he was, where did he rank, though? He was
third.
Third all-time highest listened to, viewed podcast that we've ever had.
It goes like first Brandon Turner episode, Dan Zimmerman, and then Terry Shanahan.
Yeah. So, guys, listen to his first episode if you have a chance, number 46. Killer content there. Tons and tons and tons of tactical real world examples of how you can scale like crazy fast. And now what we discovered in our conversation with him that's coming up on Wednesday is the reality of buying that much that fast. And we're talking about 200 plus doors of rental properties that he added to his portfolio in such a short amount of time.
And not multifamily. We're talking about
single-family houses. This is not like, oh man, I have 200 doors and look at me. This is 200 roofs. Right? These are 200 separate insurance policies, 200 separate notes that he has on them. Like, this is crazy to me that he did that, because I've bought a portfolio over time of single family homes that I've kept as rentals, and it is a ton of work.
I couldn't imagine like just seeing the transactions between.
I don't know. I honestly don't know how he kept them all straight. Like, that is a lot.
I think he said he has quite a few VAs.
Yeah, that does help the cause, but you still have to work with your VAs and tell them what's up, you know. But listen on Wednesday if you want a masterclass in just operating a like really substantial single family home portfolio. And he has some small multis in there too, but the 95% of his portfolio is singles.
I remember the one key takeaway I got out of it when it came to the discussion about the VAs. He's like, I have to systematize everything. So everything is recorded, everything is documented. And if somebody goes away or quits or he has to fire them, the next VA could step right in, follow the video tutorials for every single task that person was doing, and be able to step right in and take over.
I've always been impressed with his preparedness and ability to systematize things much better than I ever have. I'm kind of a shortcut guy. So in general, I'm like, okay, skip to the end? What can we do to make this process easier, faster? But he takes the time on the front end and it pays off in spades on the back end with his entire operation. So super impressive guy, and really, really into health and wellness and nutrition. He has kind of a crazy story, roller coaster type ride through health and wellness and health scares of his own, despite being a super healthy guy. And if you're into that kind of stuff, self-improvement, determination, building systems and processes to explode your portfolio and lifestyle in a really, really compressed amount of time, this is the episode for you. Tune in, because you're not going to be disappointed by Terry Shanahan. He's the man.
He's stand-up character too. When we got done recording the other day, it's right when I got done, he sent me a text message. I'm sure he sent one to you too. And he's just like, thank you so much. Great to get to know you guys better. And he's like, how appreciative he was of it. So I'm like, and I was just, when somebody does that, it just kind of speaks on our character.
Yeah, I totally agree. Okay, let's pivot into, you want to know what really grinds my gears, Ted?
Yes.
I have a couple of them.
What's the new thing?
Okay. So today,
does your wife Jen know about all the things that grind your gears?
Honestly, she knows a lot of them, and I've tried I've tried and tried and tried to not make things annoy me, but they still do. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really hard for me in particular. I don't know if everybody else feels this, but yeah. So today, do you have a real ID, like the gold star thing that you have to get now by May 1st or whatever?
I just booked my tickets yesterday for the REI summit, and I saw that on there, and let me pull it out and look.
Okay, so this is completely unscripted here. Oh, that's a fancy wallet you have there. Oh, you do have it, you dog. That is not you in that picture, by the way. That is a much...
My double chin is kind of sticking out a little bit.
So today, I made this appointment online, right? And now the thing is with the DMV, you used to go in and you wait for days before your number got called. You'd have you're turning to dust in the corner by the time you go up there. I made an appointment, went in. I have everything prepared. I have my passport, my old driver's license, 2 bills that have my name on them, and then a social security card. So that's all the requirements that you have. If you have all those, you should be good to go. So I'm like, all right, this is going to suck. I'm still going to go, whatever. Go to the gym, go to the DMV, and I wait and wait and wait, even though I have an appointment. Get up to the counter. Guess what? My passport was expired. I grabbed the wrong one. I grabbed the wrong freaking passport. So all that time I waited, I should have just taken a selfie at the minute and sent it to you because you would have just died laughing. I was so frustrated. And I was like, the lady was super nice about it, but she could tell that I was just not in the right frame of mind to hear, she's like, yeah, you're going to have to come back, basically.
Yeah.
And anyway, that sucked. And then the other thing that I really am irritated with this week is I don't know why by now I don't have a better system or process for this, but with all the houses I've flipped, rentals I've turned over and got new tenants in and all that stuff, almost every time I do it, I am really annoyed when so I'll hire a contractor and I'll be like, do this, have a, scope of work. And even if it's verbal or whatever, I'll be like, do all these things. And then they'll be like, okay, I'm done. I did everything you wanted me to do, blah, blah, blah. And then they leave and then they're on to their next project. Right. So generally they have a crew of guys, usually, 2, 3, 4 of them. They move on to the next deal. And then, I'll go and look at the house and I'll be like, I forgot. Here's the things I always forget. Always. Smoke detectors and CO detectors.
Oh, you got to get those.
Always forget those.
And by the way, don't buy the Nest ones because I got those.
Yeah, don't buy those.
I got those on a value pack last time. Like it was like a special deal. And it's because they're Airbnbs and you want to be able to have those connected to
That's
your phone.
Fair.
Okay.
Okay.
So I had a midterm and they trashed the place.
Mm-hmm.
They took 2 of them. So I went through. I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna.
Who does that? By the way,
I don't know. So I was gonna replace them, and then I go to price them, dude.
Yeah, they're crazy expensive.
They went from the $99 I paid for them to $220 a piece. And I'm like, and I told Chris,
good Lord, man.
I told Chris, I was like, we're gonna charge them at $220 a piece.
Yeah,
but I'm gonna put the cheap ones back in for selling it, and then the 2 remaining ones are going home with me.
Yeah, that's a good move. But yeah, and by the way, even the off the shelf ones right now, just your basic ones are now like $35-$50. It depends on where you go and what you get, but yeah, they're not cheap.
Well, I got those Bluetooth connected ones for my multifamily.
Mm-hmm.
And that way, if one goes off, they all go off.
Yep.
Because it's kind of like a hotel. I want to have that.
Sure.
Extra
Yeah.
security.
Makes sense.
But those things are, first off, I can't even find them now at the store. But at the time, they were like 100, 150 a piece.
Yeah.
And they Bluetooth connected each one. But the crazy part about that is that they're 10 life batteries. And
you've talked about that before.
God, like 7 of them in like a year and a half. I'm like, why are these not working?
I'm going through this a little bit of a panic attack, right? Well, not really, but I have to make a big order of lock sets for our hotel to multifamily conversion that we're doing in Branson. And, there's 144 of these that we have to order. And these are deadbolt. And what I arrived at was what always sucks with multifamily in general, or used to anyway. You have to rekey after every tenant, right? And I realize, Kwikset has the smart key locks that you can basically take any key and pretty much cut it however you want. It'll work, right? So you can remaster it.
Every company does that.
Yeah, but they have these nice ones that I've used on a couple of different bigger multifamilies that I have that are just pass-through locks. So it's a deadbolt, and then the doorknob itself is kind of like like a bedroom. It's like there's no lock on it or whatever. And the thing about it is, you don't want to buy a cheap one, because a lot of times you'll buy these, especially if you buy them in bulk, you got a whole bunch of them. And if they came from, China or India or whatever, maybe they're an Amazon special or something, you buy them, they may go out of business, or they may not even carry those anymore. So if you have problems with them, good luck returning them, and good luck getting new ones that are the same as the old ones and all that.
Isn't this place an old hotel?
Yeah.
Can't you just use a hotel card system?
We can't, though, because we're, all the doors are gone. We're replacing all the doors and all the locks and all everything else.
Here's your key card.
But then there's a problem with that too, because then you have to manage the card system. Then you have to train your property management company to spit out a new one or whatever.
It's already established.
What I arrived at was I found Schlag is
Schlag.
Well, I'm going off of what they say on the commercial, and it's Schlag box.
Well, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think you are. I know it's a weird name to pronounce, but anyway, Schlag, whatever you prefer. They have a combo one that went from it was like $125 and went down to $84. Yeah. And I was like, oh dang, that's $35 off, 35% off, something like that. I'm like, should we order these? Now, keep in mind, this is $84 times 144, so that's a lot of money, and you want to have some extras too. But then I was reading through the reviews, and I was like, they're like, this works great. I put it in last week, and I'm so happy, and this and that. And then I dug into it further, and I saw one dude bought 20 of them because he's an investor. And he's like, yeah, I had to 8 of the 20 didn't work, or the mechanism just kept spinning and it wouldn't engage the lock or whatever. And I was like, oh boy, I don't want to have to deal with returning 144 of these. So I don't know what I'm going to do there. But my point is, on all this, we're on the What Grinds My Gears segment still.
Yeah.
This is a long one.
We're going to create that as a segment, just so you know.
So anyway, I always forget trash and debris cleanup. And, because here's my deal, especially if you buy something during the winter time and you have a big remodel, right? So you're getting ready to either sell it or release it or whatever you're doing. If you're doing a big upgrade, you hire somebody to do all the cabinets, countertops, light fixtures, paint, flooring, all that stuff. And then you forget about the stuff you don't see. So a lot of times, snow melts, and guess what's left? Crappy landscaping, or a mulch bed that looks like it was from 1986. Or, just construction debris that they're flicking cigarette butts into the snow, or things like that. Yeah. So that sucks. I hate that. I went over to I went over to 3 properties before we came to the podcast studio today, and I was like, ugh! Every one of them, I was like, this needs mulch. This needs they didn't get this thing, or I forgot to tell them about it. And there's touch-up paint that's needed on the outside that I missed. And I'm like, oh, it just annoys the crap out of me, the punch list stuff. Because then by this time, the crew that you hired originally, they're not going to come back to do that. They're moved on to the next one, and they're like, that's too small for me, man. What am I going to, So, now our shared handyman extraordinaire, Chris, is, I think, going to bounce over there.
He was calling me while
I know.
Sitting here.
Well, yeah. So Ted and I are fighting for Chris's time right now on different projects. And I was like, all right, man, I have 3. You're going to go to this one, and then the next one is here, and then the next one's here. It's going to be perfect. You just go from 1 to 1 to 1. And then you're pulling away. I get it. It's not your fault at all.
Just so you know, I'm slowly selling my stuff off, so you should just hire him full time.
But I go. So I'm like, all right, man, I'm sorry to do this, but I had a tenant text me. He's like, hey, the gutter kind of detached, and it's this is right before the big storm we were allegedly going to have yesterday that never happened. And I was like, can you go and reattach that gutter? And then today I was like, man, I wish I could clone you, because I now have this punch list of annoying stuff that's going to take probably, 6-7 hours. It's going to take a day basically to do. And he's like, I'll get to it. What is it? Where is it? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, that's my, what grinds my gears, this week. DMV and punch list crap that I miss.
Do you think you have enough gear grinding going on that we can make a segment every week about this?
I hope, for sure. If anybody likes what I'm talking about right now, which is doubtful, just let us know. Hit us up in the comments.
I think it's funny.
Oh my! I know you do. You laugh at me endlessly about my misery. Thank you. Great friend you are.
I really want to get into Golden Nugget, but where are you with the flood property?
Oh, that's actually timely. So We have all right. We've had
how long's it been so far?
Let's see. It was January of 2024 when the sprinkler bomb went off.
About a year and a half.
Or not sprinkler bomb. The plumbing burst and flooded. Yeah, 4 floors basically.
So a year and a half in now.
Yep, year and a half in. We've been working on it. I mean, really, probably since it's been several months where we've been working solid over there. And this is kind of fun, actually. David Welty, who was we've had on as, I'm not sure what episode it was, but he owns a title company, great dude. Midwest Title. He's going to be occupying one of the street level units. And so that's his is going to be done this week. Actually, maybe tomorrow.
So you'll both move in. You'll start getting some income off this
and then, so basically this is a 5-story building. We're going to rent the street level. You know, all the work that we've been doing is a lot of it's been plumbing, sprinklers, HVAC, all that stuff. And it's electrical. That's been a big lift out of all this. And the elevator was fried. So we had to replace that. And that was like $275,000 just to do the elevator.
Pocket change for you guys.
Right. Yeah. So huge. I mean, lot of large ticket mechanical items that don't really add any value at all to the building because it's just expected that stuff would work. Right. So then obviously the cosmetics, the paint, flooring, and all that stuff is more of the easier part. It's been a fight, man. Insurance company took forever to settle. That's why we had such a delay on the construction project. But yeah, to answer your question, we've made great progress. We've got one unit leased on the ground level, and then we've got another one that's on the more of a restaurant type setup. And we're going to be looking to lease that next, and then we're going to move up from there. The challenge with doing this is an office building, right? So you don't want to work in a place where you're hearing like hammers and nailers and like all kinds of noise all the time. So we got to make sure and be mindful of the tenants that exist.
If you do it per level, though, it'll be pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I think so. We're working through it, but this is definitely challenging. It's a different approach to doing a residential property where typically you're going to finish most of the building if you have a huge, flood event or something like that before you actually get a certificate of occupancy and all that. This is office, so it's just different, but it'll be good when it's done. And one thing about this is we were, I think we've talked about this at some point during our episodes, but in insurance policies, there's usually a rider that you can get on your policy or a carve out for ordinance and law. And if you go through a catastrophe like we did, you can get extra money to pay for things that wouldn't normally be included that are required by the city to bring it up to code. So we decided to go with sprinklers because the building didn't have that before. And now we've had all kinds of problems with the city didn't like where we wanted to locate the riser that goes outside of the building or the PIV. Anyway, I won't get into the details, but it's a lot of money. It's like $300,000 just to put sprinklers in that building. So a lot of dough going out the door. I mean, you get this big insurance settlement. And you're like, oh my God, sweet. We're going to do really well. And then you're like, oh, there's a check for $275 for the elevator. There's one for, you know what I mean? Like all this money is just like going from one hand to the other and it's gone. It's
just insane. Cause I was just talking to a commercial insurance agent during one of my networking events this afternoon.
Yeah.
And he was just saying how he had to bring on some new companies because he goes, everybody is dropping the multifamilies in the large commercial buildings. And he goes, and on top of just being dropped, they're not offering like higher options.
Yeah.
He goes, and then he brought on these other companies to take those on. And he's like, it's not just that it's higher, it's double.
Yeah.
For these multifamilies. He goes, now I can take it on and I can insure these people. And they don't have a choice. He goes, I'm offering it where I can actually insure it. But the price is double what they're expecting.
Yeah, we had this Branson project that I've mentioned before. We're converting a vacant hotel into multifamily, and we literally went down to almost the last day that we possibly could to get an insurance policy put in place. I mean, it was ridiculous how many different insurers they had to go to, and they actually had to end up like commingling different policies. So like one insurer said, we'll insure this up to, $1 million or whatever. And then they wouldn't cover the whole thing. So then they had to like bundle them together. And then one thing that really sucked is we had to get builder's risk, because it's vacant.
Yeah, of course.
And they made us pay for the entire policy. So typically on a property where you're buying it and it's got multiple buildings, you can get an overall policy. But in this case, they said, it doesn't matter if one of your buildings finishes first. You can't roll that off into another policy. You're paying for the premium no matter what for the whole time. You can't prorate it. That's the best we could do. And I shopped. I mean, geez, man, I probably went to a dozen different brokers and then just some, captive insurance agencies that typically will underwrite stuff. And they're like, yeah, we're not touching anything that's older than 20 years, or we're not doing anything that's more than 3 or, whatever. They all have their, parameters they operate under. It sucked. We got it in place, but we're paying through the nose for that thing.
I mean, I feel like everybody is out for the realtor, the real estate investor, the multifamily owner. I mean, it's just like everybody is coming at us full force.
Yeah, it's changed so fast over the last couple of years that people are just on their heels right now and don't know how to handle this. And I would guarantee you there are people out there that are like, can I even do this anymore? I mean, with how things are, I can't make this building work, or I can't make this apartment complex work because the insurance, it's now cash flow negative. You underwrite it based on historical norms, and then all of a sudden we have, whether it's climate change or whatever you want to call it, I mean, we're just getting smoked every year with disasters. So it's just, it's changed the game. And I think people are just trying to figure out, they're struggling. I mean, everybody is.
The hail's been just insane.
Yeah.
Lately.
Every night anymore, it seems like there's a weather, in the spring, especially, like we had an 85-degree day yesterday that came out of nowhere. And that's a recipe for disaster if a low front moves in.
It was eerie.
It was, everybody was just waiting. Yeah. Like I was just waiting and waiting.
And then we got nothing.
Yeah, then nothing.
Not even a drop of rain.
Oh, my dome.
I tell you what, though, I got stuck on the interstate when that last hailstorm hit. I was like on 45th and I-80 there.
Yeah.
And it was a big traffic jam, deadlocked, and then just got destroyed with hail. And I'm literally looking.
You're helpless.
And I'm looking at the cars next to me, and I'm watching the hoods and everything just get dented. I'm seeing the dents on some of these cars next to me. And I'm like, oh my God, how destroyed. My truck is a year old. I'm like, how destroyed is my truck right now? Because I couldn't tell. But I'm looking at I can see the dent and the damage on the cars next to me.
Yeah.
So I get home, I put it in the garage, I'm trying it off. I have a couple dents, but they're all on the roof, not one on the body.
Well, really?
Yeah, so weird.
Weird. But you need to call Andy McCormick, your handy paintless dent repair professional here, who was on episode we don't know. But Andy McCormick, great story there. Look him up if you're in the Omaha or Midwest market. I mean, he can probably hook you up with some PTR.
Yeah, I'll reach out to him because my wife's like, you need to go call. I'm like, I'm not going to put this in their insurance.
I know, right? Like, the cost.
And it's kind of like I called Gabe Ruiz because I had hail damage at one of the properties. Nope, I'm not putting that claim in. I'm going to spend the $2,000 to get all that vinyl patched up.
Yeah, that was a good move.
Fiber New Company.
Hey, by the way, you mentioned this and didn't name him, but you mentioned your insurance buddy or insurance broker or whatever, Marty McGuire with Blackstone still, right? Yeah. Blackstone Insurance. I referred a buddy of mine to him who had an insurance policy that was coming up for renewal, and his cost was going to double. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, try Marty over at Blackstone. I don't know what he can do. I have, everything's crazy right now. So he called Marty, and Marty saved him like 50% on his multifamily policy. I mean, we're talking like tens of thousands of dollars.
Well, this isn't planned, but he actually just agreed to sponsor a few episodes.
There you go, coming in hot with the sponsorship.
So he's getting a commercial made, and he's gonna throw commercials on.
See, I literally okay. This sounds made up, but I literally did not know this until you mentioned it.
I know you didn't.
But he hooked a friend of mine up and saved him like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on a multifamily project. So give Marty a call. Good dude. And he maybe see what he can do with your insurance policy. He can shop it to multiple carriers, and who knows, maybe you'll actually cash flow.
There we go.
Speaking of cash flow, this might be a good time to talk about today's golden nugget: cash flow versus debt pay down in light of the current environment that we're in with debt, skyrocketing expenses, prices that have not come down on acquisitions and all that fun stuff. I thought this would be a fun topic to talk about. I was actually just having a conversation today with Brandon, one of my business partners.
Brandon Tauber.
And he'll never hear this or acknowledge it. But
one day we'll have him on.
One day, you keep promising. Cash flow versus debt pay down. So right now, current snapshot in time, the mortgage rates on 30-year fixed are going to be roughly in the high sixes. So they're like 6, 8, 9, I think, or something like that. I looked this morning. Commercial debt is going to be a little higher than that. So if you have any type of multifamily or commercial stuff, or maybe you have a single family property and you get a commercial loan on it, you're going to be paying probably 7.5-ish. Now, again, snapshot in time, this could change wildly here in the next few weeks, depending on tariff town there in DC. But we have an interesting time right now because you have a lot of people that got into the market and started investing in real estate, or maybe they really ramped up when the market was going nuts. So COVID time, shortly after that, everybody was buying. Mm-hmm. And what you have right now is commercial debt is resetting on a lot of notes. And they're going from probably, I have 2 commercial properties that have 3.5% debt on it right now. And they were 5-year fixed and then, 20 or 25-year AM or whatever it is. And they're going to reset. So a lot of people are going through this. So your rate is going to double and it's going to smoke your cash flow.
Or more.
Yeah, it could be more. This is an interesting time because if you are able to think about it this way. All right. Everybody's looking for cash flow. We talked in depth about basically ways to squeeze out extra cash flow with Brandon Turner when we had him on the podcast. And he was talking about some interesting tangential stuff to what our norm is with, pad split, where rent by the room is a way you can juice your NOI or your cash flow. And he also talked about assisted living and kind of some other niche areas within real estate investing. Here's the interesting thing. Those all come with some type of risk, right? So any type of investment typically is inherent with risk. So if you invest in crypto, you have a chance to make 10% tomorrow and you could lose 10% tomorrow. So very risky.
Or more.
Same thing with any other type of investment generally, right? Now, the 10-year treasury, U.S. debt has been widely known for a long time about being a very secure or a quote-unquote risk-free investment, although I would somewhat argue that in light of current economic circumstances. But debt paydown is a risk-free return, and it's based on what your current interest rate is. So if you have a 7.5 or 8% note that you're paying on right now, if you come into some money and you say, what can I do with this? Should I invest it? Or should I pay down debt? This becomes an interesting exercise because if you have 3.5% debt, you can probably get a much better return on another investment for not much more risk. But now that it's like if you have debt that's at 8%, if you pay off that debt, you are getting an 8% return. I mean, it's virtually risk-free because it's your debt. You're not taking any risk. You're just taking money that you owe off the table and adding it to your, balancing out your balance sheet. So this is a time where you should really look at your portfolio and say, okay, what do I have right now? What are my interest rates at? Can I get a better return than just paying down debt? And this is a move that I feel like a lot of larger or, even people that have a few properties, but they have debt resetting. This is a really good analysis to go through and say, okay, how much risk am I comfortable with? How much of a return can I get potentially wherever I decide to deploy my capital? And right now, I think a lot of people are making the move where they're paying off debt instead of investing it. And that's why we're seeing a little bit of a stagnant. Well, that's not why, but it may be a partial reason why.
I think I mentioned this before, but right now I've had more investors call me to sell their properties.
Yeah.
And I have not had almost anybody call me to buy properties.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it?
I think I'm selling 20 physical properties to every one purchase.
That's a big number. I know that's anecdotal and you're one person, but you're kind of the guy when it comes to...
It might be greater than that.
Yeah, but pay attention to this and do this. If you have some properties and you have variable debt or the debt that's going to have a balloon payment and reset or whatever, go through and plug it in and say, okay, what are my other options? Because right now, if you go out and you try to buy something like existing multifamily, for example, or another option that you have that might generate a good yield, it's really hard to get 10% cash on cash return on anything right now, right?
It's unheard of.
So if you can get 8% risk free, I can't tell you a reason why you shouldn't do it other than you may be taking money off the table in, say a year or two, you may have an opportunity to buy something that makes more sense or maybe even a shorter term than that. So that's the risk, I think, is just opportunity cost. But really go through and make an analysis. I think this is the time to do it.
I just finished a book called Art of the Slow Flip.
Yeah, you were
And-
telling me about it. It
and-
sounded really interesting.
and
I'm gonna read it.
And it was somebody recommended it that we interviewed. And that's why I downloaded it. But the basic concept of that is, to have homes that completely cash flow and take the cash flow, because he says true wealth doesn't have debt behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much the model he puts out there is like, he's like, no matter where it is, you're going to find houses that are $30,000 to $50,000.
Mm-hmm.
You're just going to purchase them, and you're going to find a private money lender that's going to loan you the money at 12%.
Okay.
On a 5-year note.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you're going to take the property, you're going to post it on Facebook Marketplace, all these various places, and say, hey, no credit, no background checks, kind of like a buy here, pay here car lot.
Mm-hmm.
$3,000 to $5,000 down, depending on the price and what you feel comfortable with. $895 payment, 30 years. And he goes, on average, you'll get the property back 3 times, but no matter what, you have the house paid off within 5 years.
Mm.
And at the time of him writing the book, which was, I know, a long time ago, he had 130 or so of these currently going.
That's crazy.
But over 80 of them were paid off.
So he's just stacking cash flow. I mean, and if they don't refi out of it, I mean, he's going to have a monster spread on the, because to your point, I think you told me the other day, he would basically find a house, maybe not a great house, but it's
Most
a
of them
house.
were great. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and he's buying them for whatever he's buying for. And every time he buys one, he takes out a $35,000 loan from a private lender.
30 to 50.
30 to 50. Okay.
Yep.
Then he goes out and markets the home for sale, basically owner financing. I mean, I don't know how he's doing it exactly, and we didn't get into that details.
He literally put a sign in the front yard, and then he said that sign was always handwritten.
Okay.
And sometimes he'd purposely misspell it.
Oh, this is like clickbait on Facebook
and then,
or
exactly.
Instagram.
And then he said he had no criteria. The criteria was whoever put cash in his hand first. That way he didn't have an issue that he was picking somebody over somebody else.
Now, one caveat I generally like to make is this is for entertainment value only. Look into your financing regulations.
Go read the book.
And all that. Read the book, The Art of the Slow Flip. What was the guy's name? Do you remember offhand? I know we talked about it. I can't remember it. Well, he'll look it up. And
I added him just on Instagram because I was like, I really want to interview him.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
And
that would be great. Yeah, get him.
Because I figure after we have Brandon Turner, we can get anybody.
Yeah,
like we have
we have street cred now.
Like we have Tarl Yarber coming.
Oh, you're teasing that already, huh?
Yep, I do. Scott Jelnick.
Okay, Scott Jelnick, The Art of the Slow Flip. Sounds like a great read. I'm gonna read it.
He talks about how he went almost completely bankrupt during 08-09.
Yeah,
and how that affected him so much that he said his richest friends were able to pull out of it, and they were the people that actually didn't have any loans.
A mountain of debt.
Yeah. And so that's what started him down this line. It is a great read, and I think it is feasible most areas. But he said everybody wants to own, and then he goes there's going to be somebody that has a vision for that property. It doesn't have the credit, but wants to own their own home,
and maybe they're really handy or whatever.
Is willing to put time in. And he goes, I don't care what they do to it or what they don't do to it, and if I get it back, I'm still winning.
And the thing you didn't talk about is you don't have to deal with tenants, toilets, and all that stuff. They're on the hook for it, right? That's the benefit of it.
They're on the hook for it, and he talked about in the book that he has a separate sheet that breaks down everything that's their responsibility and makes them initial it on the contract.
Okay,
because he said that initially he talked about that, but it came back to bite him in the butt a couple times. So he broke it all down and went over it, and then in complete detail about all the responsibilities of being a homeowner.
I like it. And, we talked again on Wednesday coming up with Terry Shanahan, and he's used that approach, not the exact same way, but he has chosen to do owner financing on some of his rental portfolio that he's selling off, which is really interesting. And anyway, on that note, so The Art of the Slow Flip, and tune into Wednesday's podcast with Terry to hear more details about kind of like how you can go about dispositioning properties. The other benefit out of that, the big one, is you don't have a huge tax bill when you sell these, right? Because it's spread out over time. So that's another way you can kind of do a slow bleed and pay the IRS what you owe them, but it doesn't have to be all at once.
Yeah, it's just a small amount up front, and then that small monthly payment, and become wealthy. I'm interested in it because I'm too hands on.
Yeah,
and I need to look
control freak.
I need to look for different options. And I think that this could be an option for me, but I also think that the storage units could be an option. And I'm open-minded to other ideas.
I love it.
So,
well, that was today's long-winded golden nugget.
That was a good one.
It was. And book recommendation in there too.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
And in our new segment, what grinds Owen's gears?
Oh my God, I'm gonna get so much crap for that. But
well, this is the long version of our real estate rundown. But I think we had some good content in here. And we appreciate you guys listening. And if you listen to this the first time or the 207th time, we do appreciate your review, your 5-star review, that is, your written review. And if we get a good one, we'll read it. So definitely write us a good one. You can do that on Apple. You can do that on Audible, I believe. And then Spotify, you can just give us a 5-star. So we appreciate that. But the biggest gift you can give us is sharing us with your friends, because we do not get paid to do this.
Amen.
And so please share it with somebody that will
in fact, we pay to do this.
we pay a lot to do this. But with that, Owen Dasher, we see us out.
On behalf of the absent Aiden Bear, Rhea Radio, and Ted Kosh, I'm Owen Dasher, and you've been listening to the
Real Estate Rundown. Signing off.
Hang on. Will you adjust my sound down? Number 4. Check. That's good. Thanks. If I had $1 million.
Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2.